Hey everyone, welcome to the Bold and Beautiful 24. I'm Alessio, and I'm so excited to have you here. If you love bold and beautiful, then you're in the right place. Make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss a video. Alright, let's dive right in.
Beth, her small hands trembling slightly but her eyes resolute, finally told Hope the truth. Every piece of it. The secret she had carried quietly for so long, the hidden knowledge that had burdened her even as a child. The air was thick with unsaid words and raw emotion. And the tension in the Forrester living room was almost unbearable. The torrent of innocence and honesty that cut through the web of lies and deception surrounding the Spencer household was a torrent of truth. Hope, who was already precariously balanced between suspicion and sorrow due to her convoluted relationship with Liam, felt the ground shift beneath her as Beth's words penetrated. Her breaths became more rapid and forceful, and each revelation caused the walls of her meticulously cultivated trust to crumble. Liam's heart, his choices, and his life were intertwined with hers, and she had always believed that he was fully committed to her. However, the truth, raw and unfiltered, revealed a reality that she could no longer ignore. This forced her to confront the painful realization that everything she thought she knew had been a carefully curated illusion, manipulated by circumstance, loyalty, and perhaps even Liam's poor judgment. Beth's confession caused her mind to race as she absorbed it. The secrets of past betrayals, hidden connections, and moments that Liam had assumed Hope would never uncover were suddenly illuminated by the innocent clarity of a child, who could see what adults so often obscured with rationalizations and excuses. Not only did Hope's heart break for herself, but also for the fragility of the family she had worked so diligently to preserve. The delicate balance between love and loyalty, truth and deception, and the unbearable weight of the decisions that now hovered before her. In that heavy, heart-stopping moment, Hope spoke the words that would forever alter the course of their lives. She was ending things with him. She felt an icy resolve solidify within her as she stared at Liam, who entered the room moments later, unaware that Beth had spoken. She was determined that no matter the history they shared, no matter the love that still lingered in the spaces between them, she could no longer continue in a relationship built on incomplete truths and hidden betrayals. As the weight of Hope's decision hung in the air like a tangible force, unyielding and irreversible, the room appeared to contract around them, with the sunlight streaming through the windows casting sharp shadows across their features. The inner turmoil raging within Liam was reflected in his expression, which was a combination of confusion, disbelief, and dawning horror. Each beat of his heart echoed with the realization that Hope's trust, which was once unwavering, had been irrevocably shaken, and that no amount of pleading or explanation could instantly rebuild the walls she had begun to tear down with such resolute clarity. The catalyst for this emotional earthquake was Beth, who stood calmly between them. She appeared both impossibly small and profoundly significant, a reminder of how innocence can hold more power than the most meticulously orchestrated adult schemes. Hope, her voice quivering but resolute, articulated that she required solitude, that she could no longer disregard the repercussions of Beth's disclosure, and that the bond between her and Liam, which was once robust, could not endure the fractures that had abruptly and violently ruptured their foundation. Liam, desperate and raw, attempted to reach out to her, to explain, to implore. However, Hope, with tears streaming down her cheeks, shook her head with heartbreaking finality, each movement a testament to her pain, her love, and the impossibility of ignoring what had recently been revealed. The tension persisted, and the silence was deafening. Every suppressed emotion and unspoken thought threatened to emerge, but were ultimately restrained by the sheer force of Hope's conviction and the agonizing necessity of terminating their relationship. The truth of Beth's revelation hung between them, a reminder that the past, no matter how meticulously managed, always has a way of surfacing, of demanding acknowledgement, and of changing lives forever, even as Liam struggled with the enormity of the moment. In the hours that followed, Liam's mind would be consumed by conversations that would loop endlessly, memories reframed in the harsh light of Beth's honesty. Hope, who was heartbroken but resolute, would begin to navigate a path forward defined not by denial or reconciliation, but by the courage to confront the truth and protect her own emotional well-being. In that crucible of revelation, loss and newfound clarity, the Spencer family would once again find itself forever altered, with each member being forced to confront their own choices, responsibilities, and the painful yet liberating consequences of knowing the truth. The moment Beth finally spoke, the room seemed to shift in temperature, as if the air itself had grown heavy with the weight of her words. The small, fragile voice of the child cutting through the layers of deception and unspoken tension that had long been woven into the Spencer family's history. Her revelation landing like a bombshell in the heart of Hope Logan, who had spent the last months clinging to a fragile sense of security with Liam, believing that their love was unshakable, that their bond had been forged through trials, separations, and reunions, that nothing, not even the past mistakes or the endless soap opera of their intertwined lives, could shake the foundation they had built together. But Beth's honesty, pure and unfiltered, shattered that illusion with the precision of an arrow piercing through a glass window, revealing truths that had been hidden behind lies, omissions, and carefully constructed facades, truths that included secret meetings, manipulated evidence, and hidden decisions that cast doubt on Liam's fidelity, his intentions, and even his judgment. And as each piece fell into place in Hope's mind, the world she thought she knew crumbled into a kaleidoscope of uncertainty and betrayal. Beth's revelation caused her chest to tighten with an almost physical force, and her breath came in short, sharp gasps as memories of past deceptions, half-truths, and unexplained absences collided. Each thought was a dagger twisting deeper into her heart, leaving her reeling with the horrifying realization that the man she had trusted with every fragment of her life might not have been entirely honest. The love she had clung to with fierce devotion had been predicated on secrets she could no longer ignore. In that instant, the resolve she had built over months, perhaps years, crystallized into something unyielding and terrifyingly final. She could not, and would not, continue this relationship without confronting the full scope of the truth. Liam, entering the room moments later, unaware of the confession that had just transpired, found Hope standing rigid, her posture tense, her face pale yet resolute, the faint glimmer of tears betraying the storm of emotion churning within her. And even before she spoke, before her words cut through the silence like a scalpel, he knew that something monumental had shifted, that the fragile equilibrium of their relationship had been irrevocably disturbed, and an almost unbearable sense of dread settled in his chest as he instinctively sensed that the news Beth had revealed had altered everything, that the foundation they had painstakingly rebuilt had suddenly become treacherous ground, and that the consequences of this revelation would reverberate not just through their relationship, but through every connection, every family tie, and every plan they had ever made together. Hope's voice, when it came, was trembling but clear, a mixture of heartbreak, resolve, and indignation, each word carefully measured yet charged with the raw energy of betrayal and the determination to protect herself from further deception. She explained that the things Beth had revealed, the hidden truths about Liam's choices, the secrets surrounding their intertwined families, the moments he had thought hidden but that now lay exposed, had altered her perception irreversibly, leaving her no choice but to step back, to reassess, to reclaim the autonomy that love, in its most ideal form, should not compromise. And in the midst of this, Liam's reaction oscillated between disbelief, pleading, and desperation, his mind spinning as he tried to reconcile the man he believed himself to be with the image reflected in Hope's accusing eyes. And the room seemed to contract under the pressure of the unspoken truths, each second stretching into an eternity as Hope, with a heart both heavy and clear, firmly announced that she was ending their relationship, the finality of her words striking him like a physical blow, leaving him staggered, desperate, and acutely aware that the life he had taken for granted was slipping through his fingers. Beth, who was still standing nearby, appeared almost ethereal, a small witness to the seismic shift she had set in motion. Her innocence highlighted the devastating clarity of the truth. As Hope turned away, retreating into the space she needed to process the upheaval, Liam's thoughts spiraled, each memory of shared laughter, whispered confessions, and intimate moments tainted with the bitter aftertaste of betrayal. This forced him to question not only his actions but the assumptions he had made about love, trust, and the fragile bonds that hold families together. In the meantime, the repercussions of Beth's revelation would inevitably cascade through the extended family, touching every relationship, every fragile truce, and every lingering resentment. Ridge and Brooke would contemplate the implications for Hope's future. Steffi would wrestle with her own unresolved feelings about Liam and the ongoing Forrester-Spencer dynamics, and even Thomas, who would be alone in his office or walking the corridors of Forrester Creations, would feel the invisible tremor of these familial earthquakes. The knowledge that one child's honesty had the power to upend not just romantic relationships, but the intricate web of loyalty, betrayal, and ambition that defines their lives. In the hours and days that followed, Liam would replay the scene endlessly in his mind. The sound of Hope's voice echoing with unforgiving clarity, the image of Beth's earnest, unwavering eyes haunting him with a mixture of pride and guilt, as he tried in vain to reconstruct what had been lost, to imagine a way to reclaim her trust, to explain the choices and circumstances that had led to this catastrophic breaking point. Yet every attempt would feel hollow, every argument overshadowed by the irrevocable impact of the truth now laid bare, and Hope, navigating the storm of her own emotions, would begin to build a new reality, one in which honesty, clarity, and self-preservation took precedence over the complicated web of love, loyalty, and shared history that had defined her existence, leaving Liam to grapple not only with the pain of a love potentially lost forever, but also with the broader consequences of family, public perception, and the fragile, mercurial nature of truth in a world where secrets are currency and trust, once shattered, may never be fully restored. As the silence hung heavy in the living room, broken only by the occasional creak of the wooden floor under Beth's small, uncertain movements, Hope's mind raced with the clarity and horror of what she had just heard. Each word Beth had spoken cutting through the layers of trust and comfort she had clung to, leaving her shaken to her core, a mixture of disbelief, betrayal, and sorrow coiling tightly in her chest like a living thing that refused to be ignored. She could feel her pulse thundering. In her ears, each beat a cruel reminder that the life she had imagined with Liam, the careful planning of their shared moments, their dreams of family, and even the quiet intimacy of everyday routines, had been built on assumptions that were now revealed to be incomplete at best, and perhaps fundamentally flawed at worst. And while her love for Liam had always been deep and unwavering, she now realized that love alone could not repair what honesty demanded, could not absolve the absence of transparency and the deception that even unintentionally had taken root in the most vulnerable places of their lives. Liam sensed the change in the room immediately, despite his hesitant entrance. He observed the tension etched in Hope's features, the almost imperceptible tightening of her jaw, the glimmer of tears poised to spill, and the unyielding resolve in her eyes that betrayed a determination he had never seen before. This determination told him, with terrifying clarity, that this was not a passing conflict or a misunderstanding that could be smoothed over with apologies and reassurances, but a fundamental fracture in their connection, a breach in trust that required acknowledgement and consequence. He opened his mouth with the intention of speaking, reaching out to her, and providing an explanation. However, the words froze as Hope's gaze met his, remaining steady and unwavering despite the storm that was raging behind it. At that moment, he was overwhelmed by the unbearable weight of accountability, and the crushing realization that no manipulation of circumstances, persuasive speech, or heartfelt confession could instantly undo the revelation that Beth had forced into the light. The innocent power of a child's truth was reshaping the landscape of adult relationships with a force that felt both cruel and utterly inevitable. Liam felt the room constrict around him as Hope's voice finally broke through the silence, carrying a mixture of heartbreak and authority. Each syllable was deliberate, as if by voicing her decision, she could reclaim some measure of control over the chaos that had erupted in her life. She spoke of boundaries, the necessity for honesty, and the impossibility of ignoring what had come to light. The weight of every failed expectation, misjudged moment, and silent assumption pressing down until he staggered under it, desperate to find footing in a world that suddenly seemed alien and unforgiving. The presence of Beth, whose diminutive figure stood quietly, but with an undeniable gravity, heightened the intensity of the moment. The clarity of her innocence illuminated the consequences of adult actions and decisions in a way that was both humbling and devastating. This served as a reminder to all present that the truth has a potency that cannot be contained, and that the smallest voice, when speaking with sincerity, can ripple through the lives of even the most entrenched adults, shaking foundations, exposing hidden fears, and forcing a confrontation with reality that is as inescapable as it is transformative. The shadows of the afternoon extended across the Spencer mansion, reflecting the growing uncertainty in Liam's mind. Memories of tender moments with Hope clashed violently with the stark reality Beth had revealed, creating a maelstrom of guilt, longing, and confusion. Hope, gathering herself with painstaking care, began to navigate the impossible terrain of ending a relationship with a man she had loved with every fiber of her being. She balancing the instinct to protect herself with the lingering ache of what might have been, and the knowledge that every action she took would reverberate across the family, touching Ridge and Brooke, Steffi, and even Thomas in ways she could not yet predict. The fabric of their interwoven lives was left trembling under the force of one child's courage, and one mother's worst fears made manifest. In the hours that followed, conversations erupted in fragments and echoes. Ridge, pacing in his study, running his hands through his hair as he contemplated how to counsel Hope without intensifying her pain. Brooke, caught between empathy and anger, feeling the sting of betrayal herself as she realized how easily the threads of trust had unraveled. Steffi, quietly observing the dynamics, a mixture of sympathy and vindication flickering across her face, as she noted the familiar patterns of love, deception, and revelation replayed yet again in the lives of those around her. And Thomas, alone in his thoughts, contemplating the fragility of family loyalty and the inexorable consequences of secrets, plotting or merely reflecting, his presence a silent testament to the way every ripple of truth touches the farthest corners of their shared existence. Meanwhile, Liam sat in a chair near the fireplace, the warmth of the room doing nothing to thaw the chills settling over his heart, replaying each moment with Hope, each smile, each promise, each embrace, now tainted with the undeniable awareness that Hope's perception of him, and of their relationship, had been irrevocably altered, and that no amount of love or devotion could instantly restore what had been damaged. The ache of longing mingled with a gnawing sense of helplessness as he realized that the path forward, if it existed at all, would require patience, humility, and perhaps the impossible task of rebuilding trust brick by brick, word by word, gesture by gesture. Hope, leaving the room with Beth quietly following, felt the strange paradox of liberation and grief, the freedom that comes with asserting one's boundaries mingling with the heartache of relinquishing what she had once cherished. And she knew that the coming days would demand strength she could not yet measure, wisdom she had not fully cultivated, and courage to face the repercussions of truth in a world where lies, even small ones, had shaped the landscape of love, family, and identity. And, as she stepped into the hallway, her mind a whirlwind of grief, clarity, and determination, the Spencer mansion itself seemed to hold its breath, the walls echoing with the invisible reverberations of a child's honesty that had forever altered the lives of those who thought they understood love, trust, and family, proving that in the intricate tapestry of human relationships, a single revelation, delivered with innocence and courage, could cascade into a storm of consequences, reshaping hearts, shifting alliances, and forcing even the most seasoned of hearts to confront the undeniable, unyielding power of truth. Hope's mind replayed every tender memory she had shared with Liam, from stolen kisses in quiet corners of the Spencer mansion to nights spent dreaming aloud of a life together. As she walked away from him, her chest heavy with the ache of betrayal and clarity, each moment was now refracted through the prism of Beth's revelation, turning once comforting recollections into shards of doubt and disillusionment. The sunlight streaming through the windows seemed suddenly sharper, casting elongated shadows across the polished floors. These shadows mirrored the darkness settling into her heart, a creeping, insidious weight that reminded her that love, no matter how true it felt, cannot survive when trust has been fractured beyond repair. Liam, slumping into the nearest chair, felt the crushing gravity of her departure, the emptiness in the room amplifying the void in his chest as his thoughts raced uncontrollably. Every smile Hope had given him, every word of encouragement, every gentle touch replaying alongside Beth's innocent, devastatingly honest disclosure, creating a mental montage of what had been, what could